Good evening. Yeah, that's the problem of the sessions in the evening. Fatigue is the only thing which is autonomous. The rest of the systems are not autonomous. So let me get some energy. Good evening.
Good evening.
Perfect. Thank you. So first of all, thank you very much to Stackroot and NIIT for inviting us in UST. And I'm also personally very honored to come here and meet you all and also deliver something. So something which you already know, but I might be just polishing on brushes of that. So my purpose here is, let me take my, is to look at, from the sessions from the morning till now, we now know what is the direction. One of the trends which people have told without telling it explicitly is that we are going in the direction of agentic AI. So and that was well defined in multiple sessions what it is. The building blocks of that was explained. The powering chips of that was explained. So now what we have to see is the behavioral change, the architects, the architecture. So how does that impact? So since we are in the direction of agentic AI, what does that mean for the enterprise architects and solution architects? So that's what, let's dwell on that with something if somebody wants to pause me in the between and all, feel free. I will not break my flow or something in the rhythm and all. No issues at all. So enterprise architecture. So the change with agentic AI is that this is not a +1 change, especially in the areas which I am focusing. I am focusing primarily on automation. The automation initially was robotic, then it became intelligent automation. All those changes, when we had robotic process automation, intelligent automation, what we automated was the process. Now what is the shift when it is agentic automation? We are no longer automating the process. We are going to automate the outcome or the intent or what is the value. So that is a fundamental change, because I think now the thing what we automate has changed. So agentic automation will completely change the way you are thinking. So that is why. So AI is shifting the enterprise dynamics, that all you know. So one thing I have to confess is that I will not go in the order of the slides. So you should not be worried if you are hearing something and the slide is showing something. No need to be puzzled at all. So in the industry, the AI agents are coming. So agents are doing all the work, etc. The difference for agents and with others is that normally the AI was a building block of your automation. When it becomes agent, it is no longer the building block. It is the central orchestrator. So I think in the beginning, I think somebody told that architect should be the orchestrator. Now we have two orchestrators, because inside the architecture, the agent becomes the orchestrator. So now you have a co-orchestrator inside the system. So you have a different role. You have to look at how that AI system is working, and that AI system is actually also orchestrating all the things in the processes. So the enterprise architecture should evolve for doing that. For doing that, 2 or 3 things is that when you say we are looking for value or outcome, we should look at the context, because the context becomes increasingly important, because the value and outcome is context driven. And it also, how is the learning happening is utmost importance, because if it goes wrong, as I told, now it's no longer a piece inside the process. It is the chief orchestrator. The whole thing will go. And also last thing is that all these things, the word autonomy has a dual-edged thing. So we can always debate, is it a good thing or bad thing? Because business wants autonomous systems. But then suddenly people say that, oh, don't make it autonomous because human intervention should be there. So you really don't know. So you really want autonomous system, but you really don't want to go in there. So where do you actually break it on getting that it's not fully autonomous? Now, the paradigm shift, I told about that. AI is no longer a component. So AI was always there. So in the situation of automation, AI is no longer a component. AI is the orchestrated thing. So what happens there is that in the enterprise architecture, the architect used to do things which are more fixed, more like rigid areas, etc. And actually what they are trying to do is that how to get the process run end to end with the minimum cost. So I always say this, automation in the beginning was always seen as a cost reduction item. So why do you automate? The first answer would be, we are automating so that we can get rid of this much, we can save that much. That was the only answer. But now with the agentic automation, that is no longer the purpose. The purpose is, can we get those values, those outcomes, those intents? So there the structure changes. So then when it is AI driven, the AI driven dimensions change in all the three areas. Now, for the enterprise architects, I always tell, your biggest change is that your interface will change in the industry. Your interface is no longer the operations people. I always tell that in other areas also. The operations people are the tough looking persons, but they are actually nice people. Now the interface changes to the business people, because if you are going to give the value, that is to the business. So your interface becomes business. Business people seems very friendly, they are very laughing, but they are not that straightforward. Their values and intent keep on changing. So the enterprise architects, the interface changes from operations to business, because you are more looking at what is the value I am going to, what is the value you want to get, because my system is going to be redesigned with that area. So that's what I think we had, like from the beginning itself today, from the keynote speech itself, we told that the stress was no longer on what is the value we want to give, what is the value UPA had to give, what is the value. So there the stress will change the architect's behavior also. So now more and more like our system was controlled, like we always say that the control and compliance was there. Security is still paramount, but the problem is that adaptability becomes a bigger dimension than all these areas. So we used to hear the word ecosystem. Ecosystem is very important. I think today morning also we heard that our thing is not to eliminate platforms. Our thing is to leverage all the platforms 10x. And that is very important, because you are going into a system, you are trying to integrate, and you are becoming 10x and you are making the other person 10x. So it is always to look at how to get the fabric done. So for that, you have to be very adaptable on this thing. It's not like closed systems. You're not going to an enterprise to replace something. You're going there to coexist and actually leverage whatever is happening. So the first principles are revisited. So the first principle is that we always look at what is a capability. The earlier capabilities were all the features which we like. The architects will always say that, okay, this is the thing. So now the capability will all be value-driven capabilities that we will be able to attach to this. We will seamlessly change those things. Tomorrow, a new model comes, we can attach to that. When you look at agentic protocols, the protocol itself will change. You will hear the word A2A, ACP. Soon that will change to something else. But our architecture will say that no matter what the protocol comes, I will adapt to that. So that's a complete change on that capability itself. Who or what makes decision? This is the thing of the autonomous. In most of the area, the decisions shift to the agents. So actually, the human in the loop earlier was that the decisions were more with the humans. Now it is the agent's prerogative to check where should I involve human for the decision. So that is a big shift. So agents say that, okay, this is an area where I need a human intervention. So that shift in decision is a bigger thing on many areas. So I think that is why some areas will go very fast with agentic automation. Other areas, it will not go fast, not because of the architecture of the system. There will be a lot of discussions inside the enterprise that whether you want that at the end. And last but not least, value. What is the value delivered? If you don't have an answer to that, do not even try to make a system, because that will not go in the long run. So this is quickly, what is it? So we will have static to adaptive systems in the architecture. The new architecture layer always are resting on MLOps, LLOps, the data, knowledge bases, knowledge graphs, all those areas. And the decision architecture shifts from AI influencing all these directions. So let me quickly go to the things which I will come back to this in a second. So what is the reskilling needed? I always tell about the reskilling here needed thing is put the hard skills. But in my view, what I have not written here, I can tell you is that the first reskilling is the mentality should change. As architects, I was also being, our mentality has to change, because we are normally having a mentality to close it. We normally have a mentality to direct, saying that, okay, you know what, this is my design. Actually, you go ahead. We will always tell the developers also, go ahead and do that. That changes now to say that, okay, I might not be the right thing. I will adopt things from others, I'll actually see where the agents are coming. So the mentality change. So the second thing I already told, your interface changes. So you actually look at a learning thing. But more important thing is that you have to be more literate in AI data and all. And I think as very wisely told, nowadays pure sciences become more important than the applied sciences. You'll have to go back to your roots of mathematics and physics to see what makes sense on the architecture. Is it the right thing and all? So that is why like we had one of the session which told that why DeepSeek made a big move rather than with other things is because they didn't just employ 150, 200 people. They employed most of them which were on the areas of pure sciences. Not actually, they didn't actually go ahead and like employed 100 computer science engineers. So that's a change which will happen now. The second thing is the life cycle. AI life cycle has to be clearly controlled. What type of learning it is happening? How is the reinforcement done? Last but not least, the ethics, others, the bias, the guardrails is a bigger thing. That keeps on changing because every time, so you all would have be like the recent news was on the Grok, the Elon Musk's AI agent which starts, it's not, I would not say it's hallucinating. It would have got it from some of the data which is already there. So I always say that AI models has an ethical problem because humans have that. And so that the AI automatically got it. But we are good enough to know that when we know we should not do that, we know that. So that's a big problem. So the ethical bias, the other biases are because the data which we were doing might be not the right thing. And the AI model, the problem is whatever we were doing, it will do it in 10x speed, which actually creates bigger problems for us. So that's the second thing where ES must reskill. Now let me go to how we implemented. So our architecture at UST also, we actually changed our architecture in a way to make sure that how would we fit the architecture for an agentic AI solution. An agentic AI solution is nothing but AI agent first. Means agent is the first orchestrator. How do you look at that? So first thing is, you look at layers. And I want to tell one more thing also. I always hear the word workflows. The word workflow came from process. Because in a process, it's like a chain. So it's like a flow. You try to do it. Now, there is no agentic AI workflow. Agentic AI is a mesh or a graph. So I always call it as a work graph or a work mesh. So if you have a palette on this thing, don't try to create workflow for agentic AI. It's a work mesh because you're trying to interconnect everything and going that. So what you have in the mesh is layers, different layers embedded on that. So you try to focus on what are the layers needed to get automation out. Number one, you'll see, and like intelligent interaction layer. Why would you say that intelligent interaction layer? Because this is the new name for nothing but your interfaces, your API connections. Tomorrow, like today, the biggest interface would be like APIs, other thing and all. The interface can be anything. It can be a voice, it can be a mail, it can be a text, it can be a paper documents, it can be actually somebody communicating, or it can be another system giving an output. All those things will be going to the intelligent interface layer. It will be anything coming on input. Second is the capability layer. The capability layer is nothing but it can be your, like somebody told about the small language models, yes, the SLMs, the LLMs, the predictive AI parts, or even rule-based systems. So I think I always tell my RPA friends, RPA is not dead because we will still be having RPA process which has to be done there. We will not over-engineer all the processes with Gen AI. Where things have to be rule-based, it will still be rule-based because we need not over-design or over-engineer the rule-based thing to make it an AI part. So that is the capability layer which will be here. Now, then you have the bigger thing. We had the big this thing from Raja. Data. Yes, data layer is a boon, and it's the same thing. It is actually a kind of a fate maker for us. How you have it, how you manage your data layer, how the knowledge base is done, how the feature set is derived from the knowledge. That is the knowledge layer, and we call the data layer as a data fabric because it can have data from different areas. So the curation and all is now taken care. That was the problem, as Raja told 1 year before. So 1 year before, you would always think that how can I make my data good enough for AI? Now the problem is you have all your data good enough for AI. So what will the AI take? At which context, which thing? So everything is nice to have, but at a contextual base, what is the AI take? Next, we always had the MLOps as an engine, but the MLOps and the LLMOps now becomes AI governance frameworks. It is no longer an operations framework. It will govern how the whole thing will do. And so the shift from operations, just doing an ML ops, we don't have a good name for a ML Go or something and all. But the system is almost changing from ML operations to ML governance and LLM governance. That's the next layer we will have. Last but not least, we will still have the infrastructure layer, because you can't change that. Infrastructure is still what we want actually, whichever you are doing in the Kubernetes, how you are doing the containerization, all these things. Scaling, robustness, all those things are a basic thing which is needed for any system. The only thing which comes on top on the left side which you see is the decision layer. You have all these things. So the evolution was always like this. When you have the system like this, the first step was to give the process what is the insight out of that. We always say that, take out the insights, the business insights. The second thing was that from the business insights, what recommendation can you give? That's the second step. The third step will be, okay, forget recommendation and all, what can be the prediction you can give and how can you prevent things? Then comes the next step. It's not even prediction, prevention, etc. and all. It's always you actually do the action itself. That's the agentic. You take the action without even informing all those areas. Final is the fully autonomous system. That means that you are informed that these things happened and it was taken care. You just get a report in the morning that these are things which have happened in your infrastructure. It was taken care like this. Don't worry, sleep well, and or go down and exercise something, because humans are there to get the reports of that. So that's the system, how it is made. So this system can be made in different way, but what I'm saying is that the architecture now changes from the traditional way you would have drawn the architecture. This is just an example. Now for the architects, I told this a lot of other times also, operations. You have to collaborate beyond IT and operations. That's a bigger problem, because you always think that, okay, these are my systems, let me talk to them. These guys will not know. So this is, when you have the new systems, you will have to interact with the data science, you'll have to interact with the AI, you'll have to interact with engineering. So it's almost a collaboration with all, and how you orchestrate all of them together. And ensuring the governance with all that. I will not touch that. So now let me take a live example of one of the things which we had done in the space of a tier 1 telecom operator. So I think somebody was in telecom, so that's why I told telecom will be a good area to tell. Initially, we had the system called AI Ops. AI Ops is nothing but the like traditional IT operations. That was shifted to AI Ops. So when IT operations was shifted to AI Ops, the processes remain the same. So we always use the same nomenclature, L1, L2, L3. So what that mean was that, okay, this is a tier 1 engineer, that's a level 2 engineer, that is a level 3 specialist engineer. And if you see that, you really made the system on the top adhering to the process which was created by humans to attack this thing. So you always look at how can I observe better, because that was a tier 1 job. Tier 1 was like monitoring. There were a lot of people put to monitor systems. Okay, then I'm looking at how can I help those humans. So you put a lot of AI models or other things, etc., to make sure that the monitoring. Then second thing is the tier 2. What is tier 2 doing? Tier 2 is you get the problem, you analyze the problem and see what is exactly that. What you did in the automation, you try to intelligently automate and help them. Their second tower comes. Then the third tower is actually your experts, the L3, the tier 3 people. What they do is, actually they are the people who are resolving. They can tell what is the run book you have to use, what is the action you have to take and all. So what I'm saying is that initially when you draw the architecture of an AI Ops, this was the AI Ops actually, you always look at how can I help or eliminate humans in a process. Then your success is always mentioned by actually we have taken out the whole of L1. We have taken like 50% of the L2 has been reduced. We now can take 30% of the work of L3. That was the thing. The same process when it became agentic, you don't look at operations in that way at all. You actually have one central orchestration unit. That is your AI master agent. And what you're looking at is that what are the outcomes needed? what is the end outcome needed from this business process. This thing can be like, okay, whatever tickets have been handled, whatever explanations, RCA and all. And now you look at where can I interface. So you have only two questions. What are the outcomes? What are my interface layers? Where do I get all the inputs? So you draw the inputs, okay, you have the data stores, you have the input interfaces, that's your input, this is the output. Then you have the center thing is your meta agent calling different agents, and they can call the human when they want in the interface. So this architectural change is an example of the IT ops or AOps area. AOps, as I told, used to automate things for people. Now the automation is totally on the outcome based area. So this is one example of an architecture change, because if you try to architect that way, you're trying to over architect. Okay, now I can do 50% more that efficiency. Now I can remove all the L2. That's not that. Now, along with reduction, you are also talking about the value you are getting. You'll say that my MTTR has now increased by 70%. My customer satisfaction has increased by this percent. My customer retention has increased by this percentage. So you always talk in terms of values, what it gives from the system. So this is an example from an AOps area. Now, along with the AI, agentic AI and all, the responsibility of the enterprise architects also have now setting up the guardrails clearly, how to make a transparency and all become, now since I told agent is the main orchestrator inside system, the external orchestrator, which is the architect, has to now put the proper things that the internal orchestrator is confined within that space only. That person doesn't try to orchestrate things outside, etc. and all. So that is a major responsibility now coming into the architect's role on this thing. So now earlier we always used to say that whenever ethics is not a new term. Ethics is something which HR gave us when we entered an organization and we signed it. It's no longer, ethics is no longer an HR responsibility. Ethics becomes an architect's, a technical responsibility for the first time with agentic AI. So now it's not the HR which is concerned, it's more the technical people which are concerned about ethics, because the model is our this thing. So we are controlling it. So that's a big change. Ethics is everyone's responsibility on area. Earlier we used to get a thing which we used to sign. That is a corporate area and all. Now that's a big change which is coming on now. And responsible design is a must have in all these systems. So before I close, I think what I really want to see is that the future ended up in. So there are a lot of changes for you from an academic point of view, learning from the behavioral point of view, making sure that the mentality is proper. Along with that, your architecting things will change. How you make it modular, scalar, etc. will change. With that, you are not kind of having a +1 change with agentic AI. You are having a complete change of the outlook of the system itself. That when we understand that, we will more embrace that and actually go in that direction. So thank you. I will not get that, and I'll see if there are more questions which I can take.
Now I'm pretty sure that everyone enjoyed it. Now if we could still have you on stage to answer a couple of questions. So do we have any questions in the house? Yeah. The gentleman in the third row, please.
Yes.
Hey, you make a great point about the role of AI changing to a workflow orchestrator. And as an architect, what I would be concerned about is, when does it decide to escalate to a human, and you want the false positives to be caught, right? How does an agent know what it is missing, and how do you catch false positives in the workflow?
Exactly. And actually, so that is the question. I'll rephrase it. The autonomous journey is not like a switch on, like you put the system and switch it on. This will be one of the things which we'll have to teach our customers also. That means when you put an agentic AI system into production, theoretically it should be 0% autonomous, because you do that. Then it's a journey of almost 1 year, 1.5 years, where, as you told, you'll slowly see and educate the meta agent to make it autonomous. If you do the reverse, it'll be a big problem. So normally what businesses want is that, okay, I bought agentic AI, so from tomorrow onwards it is autonomous. That the risk is this, because if the architects are compelled to do that, they will do it. But when you do that, you have given the agent the power without even teaching that. It's like giving a child the power to drive an aircraft because he has already seen that in movies and all. Yeah, theoretically that would be possible, but you do not do that. So in our projects, that's why I am in a better position because UST, I am in the product wing of UST, but it's a service company also. So when we go there, we always say that we are not selling you a product or service and all. We will give this as process as a service. We will take over the business process and run it for you. Initially, we will be running it with humans and all. We will slowly replace it. But don't tell us when we should do this because you will get all your returns you want. And that way, the value or outcome is given to them. But we will not have the risk of giving something very fast to that. So that decision is done by the external orchestrator, which is the architect itself. You will have to make, depending on each of the process you are taking, you will have to make a timeline for that. Whether it is 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or 1 year even, in a very crucial operations. For the tier 1 telecom operator, which I told, it's like a 6 months window when it goes autonomous. It's not like a day one thing.
I'm very close to trying to build some kind of strategy around the same line. So the problem that typically we face is when we try to sell a story of agentic AI, I tell the business person saying, okay, tell me your business process and we will automate it. So the question is, do we take a responsibility of running that business process and teaching it, or we enable the business guys by teaching them little bit of technology to implement their own little AI agents and interact with each other? Because both are difficult. I don't understand the business process that much, and they don't understand the even if it is low code environment, they really don't understand tricks and tips of building something in the software. So what's your opinion about how to reach this kind of
my
issue?
take is that they should not even be doing business processes.
Okay.
Because the business should be worried on what are the values I am to give. Like, what is the differentiator? What am I going to sell? That is the main thing. Once you define the value, you value or outcomes needed, which is keeping on changing. That has to be given the input to the technical people. So like today, since we are all the same session, say the UIDAI or UPI, the business is the politicians. Would you have given the agents to the politicians to do that? No. And at the same time, even Dr. Prasad told, he was not aware of what the thing is there, what business was running and all. But he is aware of how to build that system which works and all. So I still think that the responsibility of giving the value, whatever way, method it is, or the agentic AI method, should be with the architects. Now, there is some small tweak to that. You make the system little bit more adaptable. I always use the word adaptable a lot and all. So if it is some tweak or something, you give the interface to the business to do that small tweaks. Because the business should not be always coming back to the technical team and all for small changes. Say for example, like the value which you are giving is, in a telecom business, you are generating new promotions. Okay, you enable that, how to create promotions. But if you now, like you made a promotion thing for Diwali, and the same thing has to be made for next Ramzan, that kind of thing, easily they have to change. So it has to be customizable, and that input, like the interface, is when which I say is a much more conversational interface, will be given to the business so that they can do the changes. So make it more adaptable so that they can do small changes which they see and all, but the value should come from us. If you give it that, it will be a tougher choice for you when things come. But at the same time, your question can be different on other things. Domain. In each domain, the technical team will own it. You should not have a third team. So what I'm saying is that you are a telecom operator. You have a telecom domain this thing. Don't ever bring an AI team, which is a separate team. That doesn't work. Your domain team becomes the AI team. Business is different. So many people have the problem that in many of the industries now, you have the business, in the technical, you have a domain technical team, and then you will say, oh, domain technical team is with healthcare. Oh, we know very much about this thing and all. But for AI, we have a separate team. That is a mistake in agentic AI. That doesn't work. The AI team is the domain team itself, because the domain architects have to change And there they have to use these agents. So we don't give to business, but within the business, the domain will handle.